Do you know this feeling? You get to the end of the year and you feel like, where the hell has the year gone? And someone asks you, how was your year? And you just don't know what to say because your mind just goes blank. Butterfly. I couldn't even answer that question with some things that actually happened. It was good, I guess. I definitely had a good year. I was busy for sure. The months have just evaporated. And then you're really confused about what the next year is going to bring because that last one has just flown by so fast. There's just this really unsettling feeling that you're just a passenger in your own life, that you're just watching the landscape fly past the window and you can't really hold on to it, or you don't really live it. And the worst part is, you know you're just going to feel exactly the same a year from now. So this happened to me a few years in a row. Last December, I decided I just want to do something about that. The Stoics said your life is written in sand. And it just felt like my life was running like sand through my fingers. It reminds me of the Stoic life calendar. It's essentially a visual representation of your life where every week of your life is represented by one square. So you have 52 squares in each row and you have about 80 or 90 or 100 rows of just these squares. And each week you color in a square and it gives you the sense of how quickly time passes and how little there is left. It's what the Stoics call a memento mori, which means remember that you will die. It's a philosophical reminder that our life is finite. And the Stoics use that not to instill fear, but awareness of how you spend your time. You only have a limited number of these squares on your life calendar that you can fill. So it brings up the question, how are you going to fill those squares? Last year I made a decision. I just took a single post-it note every week to just write down like the 2 or 3 things that mattered that week. A year from now, if I look back at that week of my life, what are the things that I want to remember? There's 7 days in a week and a post-it note is only like this big. So you can't write much on there. And on the one hand, there are some weeks where you really struggle to write something down. And then there's other weeks where you have to be creative to select the things that really stand out to you, the things that you really want to remember. And now this is really exciting. I have a stack of post-it notes here that I can now look back at. And I know this was my year. Something interesting happened when I did that. It was not just that I can remember what I did that week because my brain is so porous and I'm getting old and my memory is getting worse. No, that's not really the point. I started living life more in the present. So when I got to Wednesday, I started looking forward to what can I write on my post-it note this Sunday? And it doesn't have to be much. Sometimes there were really just 2 points on that note. Most of the times it was really just a few words. Sometimes I drew little pictures. I wanted to make sure that every week is a week well lived. Every week I have something to write on this post-it note, and it's more than just the weather or that I was frustrated with the same thing again. When I found myself writing down again and again what the things were that I found frustrating, it became really clear that I don't want to fill up the stack with lots of stuff that I don't enjoy. I want to make sure that what goes on these notes is as much enjoyment as possible. And it made me live my year a lot more consciously. It sort of brought my awareness from this fuzzy, I don't know what's going on, to the present in the shape of a week. That is more presence than before, where I was just thinking, I don't even know what month it is. Is it July already? I don't know. This allowed me to just bring my awareness back into a single week block and to make sure that the 7 days in that week are spent with a lot of enjoyment. And this week that goes onto this live calendar is not a week wasted. Of course, you have weeks where you feel like that wasn't a good week, or you feel like I could have spent that week better. But it's when you visualize it, it feels so much more tangible that you really want to do something about it. I don't need to save this. I don't need to put that in my archive. There's already a lot of benefit in just writing it down, even if I didn't read back over it. But now that I do have it, I can spread these notes out on the wall, and it creates this timeline of what's happened and all the emotions that are captured in those weeks. How was this time spent? taking all these notes and putting them up on the wall month by month. It's just such a fascinating view. It allows me to spot patterns and to see that something that I was dealing with in January and February, how it had sent ripples through the entire year. It feels very therapeutic. It feels really good. Just investing 3 minutes at the end of each week to writing down what happened is making it so much easier to go back at the end of the year and see the great story that this year has been. On the Stoic calendar, every year is a row of basically these notes. Every row that I fill, represented by individual pieces of paper, is a year of my life that I will not get back. There's a lot of empty space on the calendar still. But the tricky thing with that is you don't know how many of these rows you're actually going to get to fill. So you better make sure that you fill them well. There's also this book, 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, which is about the same concepts. You have roughly 4,000 weeks in your life, so that's 4,000 of those. And it's a great book. I really highly recommend reading it. All of this sort of inspired me to just live every week more consciously. And that's what this little technique has taught me. I'm really happy that I stumbled across this, and maybe you want to try that too. This is such a simple way to journal. If you feel intimidated by journaling, maybe try this because it doesn't take much. I think a week is a good container. Like, it's a good way to look at your life or to break it down and use this concept of a memento mori. And it still feels like my life is running like sand from my fingers, but this time I'm more aware of every single grain of sand, and that feels really good. A few recommendations I have for you is, there's the book 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. Highly recommend reading that. Check out this Stoic life calendar. You can use it for free, and it's really interesting just to visualize what your life looks like in weeks and get that sense of how short is it. And yeah, just try this. It's very simple. Just take a post-it note and write down a couple of bullet points. What do I want to remember about this week of my life? Don't make it complicated. It's a really simple thing to do, and then just put it on the wall, and then you can forget about it and come back to it at the end of the year and just see what happens. And if you want to go deeper and track the why behind your weeks, like which areas of your life are actually moving your quality of life, I made a monthly tracker in Notion that pairs really well with this practice. I'll link it below. I'm curious what you think. Is that something you've tried? Did you know about this Stoic life calendar concept? Have you done something similar? Let me know in the comments if that is something that you're interested in and you want to see more of me sharing about my process. Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to this channel. I'm wishing you a happy year, and hopefully you can spend it with a lot of enjoyment and you have beautiful things to write on your notes every week.